So I will gavel in, and the time is 6:10 p.m. And this is the first meeting of the 2025-2026 Round Rock Independent School District School Health Advisory Council. And yes, new members, that's why we all call this the SHAC, because that's way too much to say more than once. So as I said earlier, I am Becky Laswell, and I'm the chair for this year, and I am always glad to see you. I know I get a couple hugs when I come in here tonight. Some of us have been here for a while, and some of us know each other from outside of here, and some of us, we only see each other here, but we do good work, and it's worth celebrating. So I always look forward to our first meeting together. So you have an agenda in front of you, and we will walk through that agenda. For the sake of our new members, normally I don't have to talk this much, but during our first meeting, you're going to hear from me a lot. In our next meetings, it'll be much more collaborative. So at the top of your agenda, there is a purpose statement, and I would encourage you to read the purpose statement, frankly, every single meeting, to keep in mind what we're trying to do and why we exist. The SHAC does exist because of state law, and the state law gives us certain requirements. Thankfully, and maybe somewhat miraculously, we went through a legislative cycle without them giving us any specific new jobs. They gave a lot of jobs to the staff in the back, but they didn't give any directly to SHAC this year, so we can thank the legislature for that. But joking aside, even if we don't have a new mandate from the state, there are always things related to health that we can talk about. But we are never required to make a recommendation unless it's one of those years the state says we have to. So this year I view as a kind of a blank slate. Whatever we're interested in, wherever we go, that's where we're gonna go, and it'll be awesome together, okay? So I have just a couple of things that I would like to kind of start with as we go on the year. The way our SHAC memberships work, it kind of goes in 3-year cycles, with 2 of those years having a ton of new members. This is one of those years. We have 7 new members tonight. A couple aren't here, but we'll have 7 new members this year. So for you new people, don't worry. We were all sitting right where you were once wondering, what did I volunteer for and why? So you're gonna be a little bit lost, but we'll help you through it. So I've been on the committee for about 5 years, and if I can be honest, before Dr. Gerard came, I kind of wondered why I was here. Our suggestions seemed to go nowhere. We would talk, and it'd be like, I don't know why we even talked about or why. But after he's come, we've noticed that our suggestions seem to be going places. Not that everything we ask for we get, but we hear back from things, and we have much more dialogue and conversation with those great staff members in back, and we really do appreciate all of you partnering with us and answering our crazy questions. But as I reflect back on those last couple of years, I thought of a couple things that might help for our new members to keep in mind, and even for the rest of us to remember. We do our best work when we focus on that purpose statement. It's written there on your agenda. That's the kind of thing we should be working on. And there's some topics that are included in this fantastic binder that you all should have, if not pick one up at the exit, that are from the state code, that are from our guiding documents. There's stuff we haven't talked about in a while. Maybe this is the year, maybe it's not. But there are some subjects like employee wellness or healthy school environments. We never talk about that. We talk about drug problems, we talk about nutrition every year. But sometimes there's a few little topics, maybe this is the year, maybe it's not. You guys can decide. But we do best when we focus on that purpose. We also do best when we focus on health. I think every one of us in this room, if we care about public education, probably has some issue we can rally about. Mine right now is reading, okay? And I can draw a dashed line from reading to health, but that's not what we're about, right? There are always different problems in public education. It's not our job to solve them. We're just gonna focus on health and make some suggestions. We also do our best work when it's simple. Last year, I harped on our committees a few times to write really short recommendations, and they went places. That's a change. Some of our ones in the past were really long, and I don't even know what they were totally about. But when we write something simple, it's easy for our district leaders, those in this room, and frankly, probably their bosses, to be more willing to accept our ideas. I think we all know that any leader gets a little bit defensive if someone comes in and jabs them saying, what you're doing is wrong. But if we say, hey, we see something, maybe we could tweak it, they're very open to what we have to suggest. The last 2 I have are about how we work together. We work together really well because we work by consensus. One thing I love about my last 5 years on this committee is I know there have been people who met in this room who get along really well. But had they met in some dark corner of the internet, they would have hated each other. You guys get it? Reality. In this room, we get along really well. no matter what else our other things are, because we do have some shared values. Whatever our background, whatever we do with our time, we support kids, we care about their well-being, we want them to have a bright future. Those things can bind us together and allow us to have really rich conversations, even if there might be a few nuances here and there that we might have healthy discussions about outside of this room. But in saying that, let's remember the quiet people in our discussions. No one's in this committee because you got forced into it. We're all here because we have something to say. And in your committee meetings, if you notice someone being quiet, maybe they're just a quiet person, but maybe you need to ask them, hey, what's your thought on this? People appreciate that in this room. And we also aren't here to just get up on our personal soapboxes. I think we all know it, but some of us do have issues we're really passionate about, and just listen to others as much as you talk. I say that to my own daughters a lot, right? And my last note is to remember the people that aren't in this room. I think that can be obvious, but if you look around this room, other than a couple staff and Dr. Gerard, we're all women. Okay, let's think about the guys. We do have one young man who's not able to be here tonight. I joked in our presentation to the board last year, we were 20 women and one lone young man. Well, this year we have more diversity, everybody. We are 18 women, 2 young women, and one lone man. But still, we are dominantly women, and we're also the kind of people, look at us. We sign up for everything, we volunteer for everything, we're active, we're involved, we know what's going on. But let's think about all the parents in our community who aren't that. Cherish the opportunities when you run into someone out in the community, when you go to a volleyball game at Hopewell and sit next to somebody, when you show up at HEB and you see somebody, what can you experience from their point of view that might not be represented in this room? When we do that kind of work, we make a difference for students' health. So that's really what I'm excited about for the year. A couple other notes. We don't have to do a review of sex ed curriculum this year, as far as I know, right? Yes, that's good. That's a tremendous amount of work, and we don't have to do it. Yay, us. We also make suggestions that are budget neutral when possible. We don't have any money, and we don't have any authority to spend money. All right. Next, we don't understand schedules, and we don't try to dictate to teachers and schools how to do their schedule, because we don't know. And if I can be so bold to say that even for our high schoolers in the room, what our experience was with school is probably not normative. How things are for my kids is very different than how they are for April's kids, or for the other April's kids, or whoever, because every classroom and every school is a little bit different. So be open in your conversations to hearing, maybe we only see things from a slight point of view. And we do appreciate our time from the staff, but we're not going to demand things from them or anybody else. If you need to ask a question of the staff, you are absolutely welcome to, and they are here for us, and they're really, truly, these people are fantastic. They answer our questions really well, but we're not going to bombard people. We don't show up at school and say, hey, random principal, I'm on SHAC, give me an hour of your time. No, let's not do that. We've never done it, and we're going to keep respecting people's time. And the last one, we aren't required to do anything. If we just have discussions and we have our number of meetings, that's all the state actually requires from us. In reality, I know this group, we're going to make some great recommendations this year, but if we get down to it and we go, I don't know, we're not going to make a recommendation just as busy work. Sound good, everybody? All right. I'm looking forward to, like I said, a great year. There's so many new faces and old faces, and I know that we really do care about health. So let's go with it. So we do, moving on to the rest of the agenda, we do take a couple of formal votes for our new people. They're very easy votes, okay? The first one is approval of the April 1st minutes. I included the minutes in email, and I think Angie provided a copy like she always does. I'll give you like 10 seconds to look over it, figuring you probably saw it in email. If there's any adjustments, let us know. There's almost never any discussion. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Very good. So we have a motion from Sandy, and we have a second? Second from Gina. All right, we love the people who second and make motions. It makes everything easier for our secretary. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? I don't think there's ever been discussion on the minutes. So I will move the question. Do we have, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Guess what? Motion carries unanimously like usual. Okay, so we can move on to our next point. This is where we have time for introductions of members and staff. We've kind of already done the staff introductions, so y'all don't have to be recorded. But for our members, we do record this, and As a reminder, parts of this kind of are public, but parts of it are private. Like, I'm not going to go out and tell you what my kids' names are and what for school they go to exactly. I will give you some generic information. You are welcome to share as much as you are comfortable with, given that we are being recorded. Make sense? Okay. In this, I do want you to say if you are a parent or legal guardian of a student who's currently enrolled, it's not that we don't like parents. It's just that parts of our bylaws, or not parents, whatever, parts of our bylaws require us to know if you're a parent or not a parent. Everybody's opinion matters, but that's why we ask. So if we can just go around, I'll go first and you can go next, to say your name, if you're new or if you've been around here for a while, if you have kids and which learning community you're part of, and if that doesn't mean something, just kind of say the high school closest to you. So I am Becky Laswell. I've been on the SHAC for 5-ish years. I don't really remember. That's how it goes. And I have twin girls in middle school in the Round Rock area.
I'm Alyssa Gilton. I use she, her pronouns. I'm in the McNeil learning community, and I have 3 elementary schools.
Hi everyone, this is my first year here, Carla Lopez. I have 2 children, one in middle school, one in high school, and I also work in employee wellness and engagement on the side. I have a career, so happy to be here.
Sarah Lozano. I have a child currently in Stony Point Learning Community. My son finished school at Round Rock Community. But I also have ties to Westwood Community because that's where I teach.
Great.
So.
Hi everyone, I'm Dia Mancotia. It's my first year here on SHAC, and I am a senior in McNeil High School.
Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Namisha Patel. I just joined, this will be my first full year. I joined at the very end of last year, and I don't have any more kids in the Roanoke ISD system anymore.
My name is Kari Pitts. I'm a student in the Cedar Ridge community, and this is my first year at SHAC.
My name is Melissa Welkley. I have 2 children in the McNeil Learning Community, and this, I think, is my 3rd year.
I think so too.
I think I started in 2022.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we're kind of the oldest ones here, I think. Not oldest, but longest.
I mean, that may also
we might
be
also
true.
be the oldest.
That may also be true. I wear my age well, they say. I think that's it from me.
Awesome.
I am a ever-present volunteer in the district.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Amber Hepke. I have 2 kids in the Round Rock Learning Community, one elementary, one middle school. Is that it?
Welcome. Yeah.
I'm April Slaughter. It's my first year. I have 2 kids in elementary in the Westwood Learning Community, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist.
I'm Claire Reynolds. I have 2 kids that, well, I have 1 kid that is in high school at BCHS.
Yes.
And one that just graduated from there.
Congrats.
But we're in the McNeil community is where we are geographically located.
I am Paula Rojas. This is my 4th year on the SHAC.
Yeah. You must
I have a senior and I have an 8th grader.
Busy. Yes.
My name is Gina Dupuy. This is my 2nd year on the SHAC, and we're in the Cedar Ridge area.
Sure.
I'm Sandy Brusquitz. I'm one of the community members of SHAC, and I actually have had children and grandchildren in the Round Rock district.
Congrats.
I'm April Brinson. I'm a parent in the Cedar Ridge community, and it's my 2nd year on the SHAC.
Awesome. So we will do introductions whenever the people missing come. We don't all have to introduce ourselves, but just they will have a chance to introduce themselves. So welcome everybody. All right. Our next point on the agenda is our annual process and committee overview. I neglected to give this to Angie, so I didn't make copies for everybody. I just gave it to our new people. Existing members, it's the schedule, which the dates changed from last year, and it's the committee overviews, which I think are probably identical to last year. I will send it to everybody tomorrow. None of that will surprise any of you existing members. You know our committees well. But our new people, hey Dia, I think I didn't give you one. I think everybody else got one. Could you guys pass that one down? Did all the other new people get one? April didn't either. Okay, let's pass one all the way down to April. Very good, everybody. You new members can glance at that while I talk a little bit. Mostly the part to look at right now would be the the side that says committees, okay? So we do most of our work in committees. In a typical meeting, you don't have to hear me talk this much. We might have someone from the back row or an outside speaker come and talk, and then we spend a lot of our time in committees. There are 3 committees: wellness, human development and sexuality, and mental and behavioral health. Wellness, just for the record, includes nutrition and fitness, because those gets called out a couple times in bylaws and state code. We combine them all into wellness, because there's much more to talk about there, okay, for the record. There's our committees. I'm not going to tell you which committee to go to. I'm happy to talk to you and suggest a committee, but it's your choice. If we get down to it and there's one committee with nobody, I may make some recommendations, but it's up to you. Get to choose. If you were here with us last year, you don't have to choose the same committee again. In fact, it can be healthy to swap around. And if you really don't know where to go, I always recommend you start with wellness, because it's the easiest to understand, it's the most pragmatic and practical, and it kind of makes sense if you're new to the committee. So if there's questions, we'll talk about it when we break. Our annual process, we have meetings. Usually our meetings are at the beginning of the month. We kind of had to goof for this one, mainly because of my schedule. Thank you all. Our meetings will probably be in this room all year, and by state law, we have to have 4 meetings. So naturally, we plan 5, because the highly likelihood of having an ice storm come February, right? Or having a day when we don't have quorum. Quorum is an issue and has been a problem. At least it was a problem in the past, kind of again before this guy got here. He's helping us with quorum somehow. I don't even think, just mere presence helps us. I'm joking. Okay, we do like you, Dr. Gerard. But we do have to have quorum. And quorum is sometimes a confusing topic, all right? I admit that I've probably gotten it wrong a few times in the past, so I'm going to ask you to help me with figuring out quorum this year. Simply speaking, we have to have a certain number of people in order to be official meeting. So if you're ever running late, please still come, because you might help us get quorum randomly at some point during the evening, especially on those nights. I know there are nights that, we have choir concerts and swim meets and everything else, but if you can get here, sometimes your presence just makes us check that box for quorum, and therefore it's an official meeting. The last note on the schedule is that we are planning to finish in April, there we go. I can look at you for April, like we did last year, which really worked, I think, because we finished our work in April. We were able to get me doing a presentation to the board in May, and then Dr. Gerard and his team could follow up in June, and then we didn't have to deal with the district going into vacation mode in July and everybody not thinking about this stuff anymore. It worked really, really well. But in order to do that, we have to keep focused and keep moving ahead. Can we do it, everybody? I think we can do it, definitely. There is a possibility that if we don't get quorum or we still have work to do, we might need an online meeting in April. We'll talk more about that when that time comes. But that's the primary reason that your meeting invitations come from me and not from Angie. It's technical, I can explain it if you need me to. So you should expect to do some offline work with your committees, but most of that will be after New Year's. Okay? Did I cover everything? I think I did. Okay, good. So our next point is updates from the 2024-2025 SHAC year. Would you like to say a brief word?
Sure.
Okay.
Brought a couple handouts. Like I mentioned before, there was a few things our legislature talked about that might come up in this group. So we just printed and posted to our website our new handbook and code of conduct. And so many of the things that the legislature enacted for us, new policies, new laws, procedures, we just pass these down here. Around. So what I'm sending around is basically a cheat code to our handbook. So if you get on the website and you find the student handbook for 25-26, and the code of conduct is there too. The code of conduct is really mostly like TASB's laws, like they're kind of the non-negotiables. The handbook is then a lot of our district procedures about how we're implementing those laws or implementing legislation. So it's more thorough, student-centered kind of handbook type material. So what we did is in the back of our handbook, since there were so many, like it was unprecedented this year, how many legislative changes there were. So I added to the back of our handbook just kind of a cheat code. If you're interested in a particular topic and you want to see how it reads in our handbook, I hope that'll be helpful for you. So the other thing I wanted just to bring you today is that, like Becky said, this is a great group, and many SHACs, sometimes not in Round Rock, but in other places, have viewed the SHAC as more of a governance type of a committee, where it's an advisory committee. One of the great things about SHAC is we're bringing in expertise from all over. And the other thing I love about this year's SHAC is my first year, we didn't have any students. And then last year, I joined us at the end of the year. This year, we have 3 of our students. And so it's such a great opportunity for us to come together from different learning communities, different walks of life, different professions, but also like we have our students to tell us firsthand, like, this is how it's shaken down during lunchtime, or this is what PE looks like, or this is what lunch looked like. So I'm pretty excited about that. So as Becky mentioned, the committee presents or can present recommendations every year, and the board of trustees can choose to take action, and the only person that the board gets to govern is the superintendent. So the way it would work is that if the trustees think something's important that they want to have happen related to SHAC or not related to SHAC, they would tell Dr. Aziz, we want you to make this happen. Then Dr. Aziz would then commission me and my team to kind of put procedures in place about that. So Becky did a great job presenting SHAC's 4 recommendations this last year. The trustees did not take action on any of them, but as we've done in the past several years, our team is here every SHAC meeting, and we have constant conversations about health and human services related issues. And there were things about every recommendation that were super valuable, that we as a team knew that we just didn't need to wait for the board to tell us that this is something we should probably try to get our heads around. And so what I wanted just to give you, this is a real brief, this is a brief of what your committee recommended. So the blue box is just basically just a reduced version of the recommendation. And then the below is kind of what our response was as a district. And so just going through those really quick, the recommendation number 1 of this committee was that Round Rock ISD should deliver curriculum to students in grade 6 through 12 regarding the dangers of opioids, including addiction to abuse of synthetic opioids such as fentanyl in accordance with state law. So we presented to the board and to our community about the ways that some of that curriculum is being delivered in some of our PE classes in the middle school. PE, so in our health class, so health is not required in high school as a class, so that leaves us like, where does this happen? And so so what we proposed this year, so our counseling team, so Steve and Sonia and their team, they're developing curriculum this year for our counselors at the secondary level to address those issues that are recommended in the SHAC and also in state law. So they're developing curriculum that's going to be basically delivered second semester of the school year. So I'm sure this group will probably have first look at a presentation in the near future about kind of what that curriculum might look like and what our students might be engaging with our counseling team. The number 2 recommendation was Round Rock should host a community health fair, inviting community agencies to provide information to parents and students in each learning community that focus on health resources available in the community, such as substance abuse prevention, dating violence prevention, counseling, comprehensive sex education, nutrition, group fitness programs, tutoring, and advanced learning. So last March, I think it was March, we had kind of our first ever community health fair, kind of like this. We had at Success High School. We invited students and families from all of our learning communities to come. We targeted specifically students who are having absenteeism issues, and that, absenteeism is just kind of a gateway to all kinds of other barriers and needs. So we engaged with those families, and it was really open to whoever wanted to be there. We had partners from around our community, health services. Brandy and her team were doing first aid, CPR, on their little dummies down there. And then we just had all kinds of breakout groups. And we had a special speaker, and so it really went well. Jennifer's team was there, and it just was a great night. So what we have met as a team, we've met 2 times already, 2 or 3 times. We met a few times. Let me use a few. A few can mean 2 or 3. So we've met as a behavioral health and health services team already to expand that. And so we're planning on a couple of health fairs in March that will include all of our learning communities, again, to replicate what went really well at Success. And so we will be engaging this group, obviously, in that, our PTA groups, our Pi Foundation groups, just all of our groups. Food and nutrition, all of our health, human services, and nutrition to cover some of these topics. So right now, we have kind of split up the list of kind of topics, and each of us in our expertise is kind of going after who those community resources could be. Do we have speakers in our community? So if any of you know people that might be interested in hosting a table or leading a workshop or providing resources, it would be great for you to let one of us know. We did ask for volunteers for the sex education part. Nobody raised their hand, so that's a little TBD right now. But we are hoping to have, even with sex education, we're hoping to have age-appropriate information for families to engage in that information. So more to come on that. So our target right now is 2 events, March 3rd, and then the following week, March 10th. And we're targeting to have them at one of the middle schools on the east and west side of our community, so easy for people to get to. So we're going to bring you a more detailed plan in the future about that. So we're pretty excited about that. SHAC recommendation number 3, that Round Rock should streamline the consent form for human development lessons. The consent form should be made more clear by including an opt-in for this educational material, communicating about the materials through district and campus communication rather than primarily through individual classroom teachers, and communicating at the beginning of the spring semester, allowing time for follow-up. So I think it's our 7th graders, Tara, they get the human development curriculum?
It's at 6.
Okay. So in the past, the teacher, when it comes time for that second semester curriculum, the teacher sends home a consent, like an opt-in consent form. And so so we already have that in place. And so what the SHAC recommended is that there was just more lead-in time, there was more transparency to that. So what we've done is we've put the link to the curriculum in our student handbook. So right now, this very moment, you could go to the handbook, you could click on that link, and you could find all the lessons, all the modules, and you could review that as a parent at your convenience. Also, our principals now, before the teachers will engage, can somebody get the door? Hi there, welcome. I don't know if you can grab a seat wherever you want. Welcome.
Chair.
So their curriculum's available now. Principals will be sending out communication at the beginning of the spring semester, beginning of the second semester, to parents saying, this is coming, we want you to know about it, reference the link that we've earlier provided. Then they will also get that right before they'll get that message from the teacher. So just really trying to give a long runway, lots of time. Some of the concern was the parents just didn't, either they would miss an email, they didn't have enough time to really digest the curriculum and make those choices for their students. So that's how we address that already, and we'll be addressing that. And then the fourth one is probably the most challenging one. I'm going to tell you that this is a work in progress. So our SHAC and many of us feel very strongly about students having adequate recess time, our young students. And so SHAC presented a very robust case to increase recess time. So our assistant superintendent for academics also presented at the June board meeting and kind of explained a little bit about how we've tried in pre-K through first grade. We've actually been able to expand our recess time, not as much as the SHAC was hoping for and recommending. It does get tighter for our students in those second through fifth grade, just because of all the time that is required to everything from fine arts to all of our intervention and all the things that are supporting what we're assessed in for accountability. So this isn't a non-issue. It's not a done issue. It's something like, in fact, Mr. Portillo, our assistant superintendent, he and I had a conversation about this week. No, actually last week. This is only two. Last week we had a conversation. We were talking about PE time, recess time, all the things, because the schedule for any school, but an elementary school, is just like a pie, and it's a finite piece of time, and we have certain requirements, and if we expand this amount of time, then we're taking away from this thing. So what are the things that we take away from? So it's a challenging piece. We will update you and engage this group as we evolve that conversation. So it's definitely.
Can I make
yes, ma'am.
A comment, because my daughter is a second grade teacher, and she made a comment. I had asked her about the recess, and she says, "Yeah, we're 30 minutes, but they took it where if somebody is misbehaving, we can't have them sitting next to us and not participating in the playing."
Yes. And that was
she was mad at that.
Yeah, and that was
I said,
a new.
well, I did it.
So but that's not a SHAC thing. That's actually legislation. New legislation said that recess time cannot be taken away for punishment. Now, if a student goes and punches a kid in the mouth, recess time can be taken away. But as far as you didn't do your homework or you talk too much in class, so you lose your recess, that can no longer happen, because those kids need their active play and to get the wiggles out.
And that's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Thank you.
So that's State Bill 25, right, that made Texas health. That bill didn't specify, though, how much time recess, it just addressed whether it could be taken away as a punishment?
Just at this point, it just addressed the behavior. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to give this to you. What I like to do throughout the year is, as we make progress on things, I will bring administrative updates to this group. And so we'll 3-hole punch them, you can throw them away, or you can put them in your fancy binder, whatever. But like Becky mentioned, just because the board doesn't act on something doesn't mean that we can't take action on some really good things. And things that we sometimes don't know about or don't think about until a group like this brings it up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. So, for our long-serving members, this is about the most we've ever seen of interaction, right, guys? Seriously. Some of you don't know. The first couple of years I was here, it's like, we never heard a peep again. But this is, I think, real progress. And I wrote down some notes. We'll make sure to follow up with you.
Great.
If I can piggyback on something Sandy said. I've heard from a first grade girl, every time I see her now, she knows my kids. She says, "Thank you for giving us extra recess." She's like, the best thing about first grade is, she doesn't know why it happened. The best thing about first grade is extra recess. And my daughter told her it's because of me. It's not. It's because of all of you.
Take it, own it.
Who did this. And I think in reality, we all know, for the sake of the newbies, we asked for 45 minutes a day. I don't think honestly any of us expected they would say, "Oh yeah, in a heartbeat, let's give you 45 minutes." But we got something, and that's a step in the right direction. So there's probably more steps, but we can work that out. We see things from a certain point of view. Of course, other people see it from another point of view, but we can all work together. That's what I love about this. I don't think there's anything too much I need to add about that. Sometimes it's necessary for a committee to kind of do a little extra follow-up, but I think we're kind of in good shape with most of these, and we can just tab with them and throw them on an agenda when we need to.
Can I,
yes,
for
please.
point of clarification,
Yeah.
just to be clear, the time constraints that are put on what our students need to study during the day, elementary, high school, it comes from the state, correct? That's a state decision. They mandate what time needs to be spent.
My understanding is it's kind of both.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely minutes in the school day, but really the only thing that's designated as far as time required is PE.
Yeah. Okay.
But we carve up the rest of the day in intervention and fine arts. just between the
And
bookends.
the district leadership has the flexibility to do that?
Mhm. Yep.
Good enough?
Yeah, because I think one of the points of the research that we did last year was that, think of those kids that are acting up in class. It's going to be less of a disruption in class time if they have more recess, so maybe you don't need as many minutes in math class. But we could debate that a little bit more in our committees if we want to. There's a lot more nuance. I don't know if we want to go there, or if they want to go there, but we could.
We don't have to get too in the weeds about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a really good, I've had the same curiosity and I've tried to read state code on it.
And so, and to your point though,
Yeah.
what we did this year was our leadership team, so Mr. Portillo and Mrs. Carlin Gonzalez, our executive director, they went and examined elementary school master schedules. And they just found that different schools were just giving different time to different things. And so what they did is they really worked with their leadership teams at each campus, and they just calibrated. It's not perfect yet, but they really brought everybody into a common alignment that we're doing things together, we're supporting these things together. And the byproduct of that is you build time for common expectations for recess. And so that was this spring's work was for this fall to get those campuses calibrated with their master schedules. So.
That's really good to hear, because I know there was a lot of variability between
We were
campuses across the
surprised with that last
district,
year.
and I know we really wanted to kind of
Yeah.
try to standardize.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
I think that was even more of the point of the recommendation. It wasn't, the 45 minutes was shooting for the moon, but the idea was having a policy that was consistent throughout the district.
The parents knew that they could count on, my kid is
Yeah.
going to get a quality recess, unstructured time, get the wiggles out, whatever. Yeah.
School to school.
Yeah, because
Yep.
we saw a tremendous discrepancy, and I don't think any of us wanted to take away from the campuses that got more, but we wanted to make sure the kids that weren't getting much got enough, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, to think.
Thank you.
So we also had some what we call parking lot topics. These are topics that someone throws out and we just don't go with for whatever reason, and they're written on the back side of your minutes, this packet at the bottom. Those are things we could take up this year if we want to. We certainly don't have to. They're listed there. Concession stand food, and it could go on the wellness plan. I don't think anybody's going out there to say we should only serve carrots at the concession stand. But maybe, we had a little
Brandy
bit of
would.
success a few years ago. Brandy would go for that.
She loves carrots.
We had success a couple years ago where we just kind of said, let's just tell people about school gardens. Maybe we can have something where we just tell people, like, could you have some protein in the concession stand? As mom right now, I really wish that happened. Okay, but someone could take that up if they want to. Other possible PE-related goals for the wellness plan. We did go through the wellness plan, and I look at Stacy because her team does most of that. There might be a couple tweaks to that. It's not required, but it could be talked about. We talked about passing periods for secondary schools, particularly as it relates to downtime, students rushing, and for the impact on students receiving special education services. I don't know that we can practically do anything about that, but it's an interesting conversation, so we can have that. Have the conversation, you never know what'll happen. The next one, I kind of laugh at because of my own children, I'll tell you why. Secondary school downtime equivalent to recess. You know, other kids need time to stretch too. My kids have taken up this as their joke when they say that passing time is recess time, Mom. It's not, but they joke about it this way. I don't know, we can have a conversation, you never know where it will go. The last one was phone use in schools, and least to this long list provided by the state government, we don't have to talk about that one again. So thank you, legislature, unless we want to debate it, and let's not. Some other topics I've randomly heard were, that didn't wind up on our list, eye health and Chromebook usage, especially in the younger kids. And I should have written down the other one.
Like screen time?
Screen time,
Yeah.
especially for eye health was related. And what was the other one? I am totally blanking on what it was, but when it comes to me, I will tell that committee. Okay. Of course, these are just random suggestions. They came up because someone randomly suggested it last year. We can suggest random things tonight too. So don't feel like you have to do those. Any questions on last year's work or what was left over? Oh, I remember the last thing. My own background is in kind of running meetings and parliamentary procedure and weird things that most people don't find interesting, but reality, okay? Our standing rules for this committee haven't been updated in a long time, and a lot of them are just, they're kind of old, and they're not how we really work. So I think it might be worth minor effort while I'm still hear and actually care about the rules a little bit to maybe tweak that. So I will bring a proposal to the committee one of these days. And I look at Melissa because she knows PE, PTA stuff. I've written PTA standing rules a couple of times. It's not that involved. It's actually pretty darn easy. So we can do that, just to tweak how we actually write down what we do.
The way we run the committee should be reflected
in the actual standing rules. Yeah, and they're not. That's great. So, okay, then did I get off schedule? I think I did. I think I got one out of order. No, I didn't. Oh, it's still there. Sorry. We have to do nominations to fill our vice chair position. So in reality, we do nominations every year, but sometimes people roll off the committee, and we always wish you well when you roll off. I don't even know what happens when you roll off. I just love it when I run into you at HB later. Anyhow, but we wound up with a vacancy in our vice chair this year. The vice chair, again, according to those rules, has some responsibilities. And it's mainly what the vice chair does is take over from me if I get sick, okay? If I somehow can't come to a meeting. So we don't technically have to have one, but it would sure be a good thing to have one. And the standing rules, bylaws do say, the bylaws we can't disagree with, and those have a couple statements. It's in your agenda. The chair and the vice chair must be parents or legal guardians of currently enrolled Round Rock ISD students. So those of you who don't have kids, you're off the hook, okay? And no elected officer shall be an employee of Round Rock ISD, which lets one person off the hook. I would say pragmatically, we need it to be someone who's been with us at least a year. So let's let one more person off the hook, just because it kind of helps if you've been through the ropes with us and know what we do. Our standing rules say we should take nominations during one meeting and vote in another. That seems to be fair to me, just because there's some people who aren't here tonight. So we can take nominations from the floor tonight if anyone wants to nominate themselves or someone else, or I think how it usually works is you just email me if you are interested in this. I'll gather all the names, if there are any names, and I will send them out to everyone before our next meeting, and we can have a quick vote. Usually these things are pretty simple. So does anyone have a strong feeling one way or another on if we need to do nominations from the floor tonight, or if email is sufficient? I think email is probably sufficient. We do our work by consensus. I think I'm not seeing anybody who looks uncomfortable with the idea of email. Okay, so we'll take care of that. It should be pretty simple. Okay, have I covered everything? I think so. Good. I haven't left out something obvious. Okay, so technically our next point is to adjourn, but I'll tell you how we're going to break out before we adjourn. We have the 3 committees. We'll break you up into different portions of this room, right? We're not going to go next door or anything. And when you get together, you're going to choose which one to go to. If you don't know, again, come find me. When you get together, reintroduce yourselves really briefly. And then you want to pick someone to be the chair of your committee and someone to be the scribe. Pragmatically, those should probably be someone who's done this before, but the scribe could probably be a newbie and you'll be fine. The chair, your job is to just keep the discussion going and sort of focused, right? Okay? The scribe, your job would be to roughly write down anything that you need to remember. You don't need to take minutes. But if it's something like, hey, Carla, you've been assigned to do this, and Dee, you've been assigned to do that, write it down. And the scribe should also get everybody's email address so you can start communicating offline. I would recommend just starting an email chain with your whole committee and put me into it. Or we don't have any resources like from the district to set up a shared workspace, but like Google Drive works well for me, Google Doc, whatever. Just make it for your committee. That helps because in the springtime, when it gets time to writing recommendations, there's almost always like, we talked about this back in November, what was it? And I can find it via the email thread. And as you're going, if you find an interesting article, and I don't care if that's from the local news or like a university, whatever, anywhere in between, throw it in that shared space so I can dig it up come April when I have to write the long document for the board, okay? Those are really, really, really helpful. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so we will break into those 3 committees. I will mingle just to make sure everybody has a place. Technically, the chair and vice chair are kind of members of every committee. Secretary, you can spell whatever you want. Any questions? Yes.
And not that I'm trying to
Yeah.
do this, but
Yeah.
the vice chair and the chair of those committees, are they also?
No, those can be anybody. Absolutely anybody. Yes, yes. Good question. Very good. Thoughts, other questions?
Your committees can meet as short or as
Oh,
long as you
yeah.
want. We have this room till 8,
Yeah.
and so, so you guys can,
Don't feel like you have to wait for me or for everybody else to be done. If you manage this introduction thing, share email addresses and like share vague ideas for 5 minutes and you're done, that's fine with me. I'm not requiring any time. But also, I will kick you out at 8. Okay, any other thoughts? Okay,
Great.
so I need to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Thank you, Melissa made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have lots of seconds. Let's go to Claire. Claire, you get the second tonight. Good job. It's a battle sometimes. Okay, so we have a motion. Actually, I don't even think this the motion to adjourn is debatable, but nonetheless, I'm going to call that we are adjourned at 6:55 p.m. Thank you.